here we go now. Go, here we go. You ain't never ever seen nothing like this. Never have you ever seen something like me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Walking with Walfinch. And today I've got the very exciting Charles Cross from Emma AI. Hi Charles, how are we doing?
Hi Emma, yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
We've only been trying to do this for about a year.
I know, we finally got it in. Good.
So what on earth is Emma?
So Emma, we do a few things, right? But I think fundamentally, when you look back at care technology, we found that we've moved from paper to digital, but how much has actually the care workflows changed, right? So we used to do a Word document, or we used to write down on a mark sheet, right? And now we've put that onto a screen. But how have we changed what we're doing? So one of the things that we do, for example, is reviewing all care data using AI and surfacing insights and then providing evidence within a minute and a half. That level of evidence, and then harnessing the power of voice. I mean, we'll probably speak about that, but voice and actually capturing at the moment that care is being delivered it's a fundamental shift in how we're going to be using technology in care.
Yeah. I mean, that is so, already the synapses are just popping off of it. I'm thinking, gosh, there's so many interesting things there. But the first question I want to ask you about is safety. Because actually this is where I think so many people, the fear factor sets in and we just say, right, we don't want to get involved in that. We're afraid. So talk to me about the safety element of Emma, of AI in social care, data protection, all of that.
You're so right. I was at a Skills for Care conference just yesterday, and that was one of the first things at the start of the event. Someone said, AI is dangerous.
Yeah.
And I was actually speaking later that afternoon, and I thought, well, there's some clarification to that, right? And some people might be using GPT, but where's your data being stored? Is that out in America training new models? If we're in care, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So what we've built at Emma is zero data retention. So first of all, none of what you do on the Emma platform, even though it harnesses the power of AI, it's not being used to train models.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. There's no data leakage. Really, really important. And then if we really want to get into it, and we've got a new study that just came out with Northeastern University, and I was really pleased actually that due to the delays that we could speak about it today.
Great.
And why we did that, right, is because in AI, you have benchmarks, you have what is the performance. Everyone knows who uses GPT, a new GPT's come out, 5.2.
Yeah.
And you go, well, there's certain nuances to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Writes things differently. And I think if anyone's been on LinkedIn long enough,
you sniff out the AI slop, can't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can see the writing
M
styles.
dashes. Didn't know that was a thing until about 2 years ago. Never seen an M dash before, for goodness sake.
and now it's a lot of short sentences, new line, right?
Yeah.
So as these models progress, they have their own nuances, they have their own writing styles. But one of the key questions we asked was, how does that perform in a care workflow?
Yeah.
So if you're harnessing some of these foundational models, but how does it change when you use a different model when you're trying to complete something like a care assessment?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we did is we partnered with Northeastern University, and we ran, and this is a bit of a mouthful, but a field level evaluation framework on LLM generated documentation in regulated domains.
Now say that 6 times.
And why did we do that, right? We found that 87.8% of answers generated by Emma are, after review, confirmed and never changed, not a letter, not a punctuation mark, by the social care professional. And I think that level of evaluation and governance, right? And that just feeds from the Oxford project. And I think you're aware of the Oxford project and responsible use of AI. But then we took that one step further. It's a UK's first for an eval framework in social care. And we think it's the new golden standard in terms of governance.
That's like supremely interesting. So then, okay, but then when I'm on ChatGPT and I click the toggle and I say, don't share my data, what's the difference?
So there's a few differences. One, if you don't share your data, then that would be great. But how does that filter through to the rest of your organization, right? And how do you, for example, in the Emma platform, you can share between users in your organization.
Yeah.
In GPT, let's say that you did toggle that off and you had the zero data retention, then you're still in the position where you then need to be sending PDFs or Word documents or transcripts, and you really want a centralized place, a safe place where it can be your one-stop shop, safe AI for your organization, where you can share the amazing work and benefits you're getting from something like GPT.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. And so you've been a care provider, or you are a care provider.
Yeah.
You know, officially. I know the business sort of operates on its own.
Yeah.
But when you look at that and you think, this is right here is why I started this.
Yeah.
You know, what was that moment? Why did you come up with Emma?
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it, Amrit? And we've been speaking probably since the start of it. So it's lovely as well to see so many care providers who have seen our journey right from our very first launch in 2023 with the longest standing company in producing AI. But my journey with social care, I mean, I grew up with a family-run care business, right? Yeah. My great-grandma had carers come in, and that was really my first interaction with a care assistant. Now, I can't remember too much over 20 years ago about what happened there. But then when I got the opportunity to take my mandatory training, go in there, go through coordination, recruitment, really understand what it is to run, organize, manage people, and the impact. You know, those stories that happen. I posted one on LinkedIn, and it's just amazing some of the difference you can make. And the care assistants would come in and, you know, shout about, okay, I've just celebrated someone's birthday or anniversary. I've taken them out to the community. I've gone that one step further. And you just think, what a lovely industry. And I knew then that this is a sector I wanted to be in and make a difference in. And then I acquired an adequate care provider. We turned that around in 18 months. But I think fundamentally, we were still in this position where the systems, we were shoehorning the company into the different systems. And I think a lot of, I'm speaking with care providers, they had that same concern, right? So we needed to do something. And then I met George, our co-founder, CTO. He was an AI researcher. I was telling him everything there was to know about social care, and he was me AI. And I thought, wow, we have to do something. And I think that's the moment with this technology, there's a real chance to change the way that care providers are operating.
Yes, wow. And you know, if you go fast forward it to 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, what does it look like?
I think you'll have a layer of intelligence. So for example, someone goes and delivers care. If it's domiciliary, a visit. If it's care home, it'll be on their shift, and they'll be completing, let's say, personal care. It might be transfers, whatever it might be. There might be a deterioration. They might have had a fall. And we always speak about this at Emma. What happens next? Well, an incident report might need to be done. The manager might need to be escalated. District nurses might need to be involved. An OT might need a reassessment. It might need an escalation above the registered manager. The owner might need to be notified. There might be a safeguarding concern, right? All just from that one instance that I started with. Yeah. Now, if you layer on intelligence that can coordinate all of those teams from that one trigger point, ensure that all documentation is adapting with the individual. We always talk about at Emma, you know, care plans and care documentation are living. They're living documents. Yes. And let's not adapt to our review date. You know, review in 3 months, review in 6 months. It's almost a daily review we can get to with the intelligence of AI. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and actually, it becomes live, basically, doesn't it? You know, and that's really, really interesting. I think when you can get into that level of detail and you can get into that, you know, rhythm of then I know that mum is actually safe because it's just changed just now. Yeah. You know, and so that's updated everything. That's updated the people. It's sent the alerts to say, oh, John, you didn't actually give that med, you know, and it's send you a text message, go back in and do it now, and all of that, right?
And the next care professionals looped into all of those changes as well. And you think about safety, efficacy, effectiveness, responsiveness of care. Now imagine having that intelligence layer assisting your team. Yeah. And I think we can get to another level.
It's really interesting. And how have you found the response in the social care sector?
I had someone call me up this morning. We went out and did a training day, and he phoned me up, and I thought he might be asking about, you know, adding another form or another way of using Emma, or it might be, you know, we're only a few days in. He phoned me up, I answered it. first thing he said is, "Where have you been all my life?"
Really?
And that happened this morning, literally as I was driving to a meeting I had earlier. And I think it's those penny drop moments, getting someone to the ability to say, I've got those concerns.
Yeah.
You know, is the GDPR right? Is the data security correct? Is this safe to use? And once we have hopefully proven, and we'll continue to prove with our eval framework, just how secure this can be, getting to the penny drop moment when you augment your team with AI it's just something special.
Yeah. And so what sits behind Emma? You know, is that on its own version of OpenAI or Claude or something like? What is what's powering that?
I love how technical we can get, and I'm going to address that in a sort of a multifaceted way, right? Because all models have their own benefits, have their own limitations. They all need to be then injected with context, social care context. So it's really important to change just a standard model and having that social care context, whether that be NICE guidelines, whether that be medication names, for example, whatever it might be, adding that layer of social care context from that, but then harnessing the different capabilities of different models dependent on the workflow.
Yeah.
Right? So there might be models that are better for context window, which basically means how much information can a model process. So when we're talking about reviewing millions of data points of care information, I don't like saying the word data too much in care because it's more about what's underlying, it's the language, right? But so we'll use different dependent on workflows, and you actually have multiple models within just one action. So even just a care assessment won't just use one model, and it won't just have the social care context put in, it will have a multi-agent architecture, they call it. And what that allows us to do is be able to leverage different models dependent on their capabilities. I know that's sort of a long-winded way, but hopefully that explains, you know, how you can take just something like a GPT and take it to the next stage. You can't get 87.8% of answers not changed by a social care professional just by using GPT, right? Yeah. We can't have a LinkedIn post where you get an 87.8% without changing it. So, you know, that's where that thought and experience that we have in the Emma team to take it that next level.
Basically using a whole different things, creating your own cocktail with it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that.
No, I think that's really, really interesting. And then when you kind of get into the next stage on and think about, you were talking about voice earlier.
Yeah.
So how is that being implemented at the moment, and where do you see that going?
I think it's one of the most fascinating things of what we do. And you can talk of something like a care assessment or a care review where you go out, you record the conversation, AI voice detection across all the people in the room, so family members, social workers, some other relatives maybe, and also the individual, and just hearing everyone's voice. I remember someone actually yesterday again said to me, well, we don't use any AI when it comes to individuals we support. They said, we're not confident in it. And I said, well, let's say that you were doing a traditional assessment and you were writing the notes as the person was discussing, and, oh, could you just go back there and we haven't answered this, and we haven't answered this question.
Yeah. Very annoying, actually.
Yeah.
And it's annoying to both do and also to be done, too. Yeah, right. So
instead, if we're harnessing the power of voice, and actually at the point in which we're completing the assessment, we're understanding everything that means something to that individual, it takes it to another level in terms of how person-centered and how personalized that support plan is. But I think it goes one step further. And I know you're on the meetings part of the platform, and meetings is really around how do we start capturing not just individual workflows like the care assessments or reviews or supervisions, appraisals for the team members, but then what about those discussions internally?
Yeah.
You know, I know how much you do in terms of your franchise network of pushing them forward.
Yes. Yeah.
What if at every single Walfinch conference and franchise meeting that you have, you're harnessing the power of voice, you're recording those key ambitions, key aims, how you really want Walfinch to be positioned as one of the best private home care, well, largely private home care franchises in the UK. You harness all of that, and then you can turn it into any materials you want at any point. And then as you're reviewing businesses, you can go back through all of those meetings you had with them and analyze those trends. What's worked, what's not. So you can see how you get specific use cases, but there's this broader capturing of language and discussions in an organization to push things forward.
It's really just riveting stuff, isn't it? Because I think that actually we've got fundamental issues within the social care sector in the UK.
Yep.
Where, 5 minutes ago we were talking about being 80% digital.
Yeah.
So we're talking about being on paper, and you're talking about analytics from AI. And I think that it's such an interesting move and time to be in the sector, because I think in 5 years it'll look very different. I think a lot of stuff will be embedded in systems just kind of by default and so on as well. So I think one of the big things that we need to do as a sector is a bit of re-education.
Yeah.
And also a bit of governance, actually. I mean, I think the ethics work that in Oxford University, I was on a panel with the lady that is running
Katie Thorne?
Yes.
Yep.
That Katie Thorne's doing. And I think that's really kind of intriguing stuff, because actually the ethics piece is a whole different thing.
Yep.
What is the AI policy of a business? Does it even have one?
Yep.
What does that look like? How do you tear that apart? And so on. And I think, we've got base level issues within the social care sector at this moment in time, where there's education that needs to be done, and a thought process as to, well, what will they look like in 10 years? And should I jump on now? Should I wait a few years and let it just automatically sit in things? I mean, I'm seeing in lots of products that I use at the moment, it's just automatically being bunged in.
Yep.
I know it's AI, but I might look at it as automation. I might look at it as just, here's another dashboard or whatever, right? But it's AI. And so I think that's quite an interesting move that is happening. And my question to you is twofold. First of all, what can be done to help educate the social care sector? And the second question that I've got there is that if you're interested, what is the first thing that you can do if you are just not an AI native at all?
Yeah. And I just want to echo some of your points, right? And I think this is really, why now? Why must the sector embrace AI now? We have 12 million people over the age of 65, increasing to 14.5 million by 2040. We have a 5.4 billion estimated, some people would argue more, funding gap.
Yep.
At any one time, we have 140,000 plus vacancies within the sector. We have to look to do things differently when we're not seeming to get the answers from government that we're all pushing so hard for. So I think in terms of education, I think it's incumbent on people like myself and other users of technology to say, this is how it works, demystifying, debunking. We've been in this for, over 2 years doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Speaking to care providers, understanding what are your concerns, what are your worries, and how can we address those head on? And that is what spurred the eval framework that we produced. But I think more can always be done. There's amazing organisations like Skills for Care, right? Like Care England, I could name them all, Home Care Association, NCF. These are all great bodies that are doing a lot of work as new technology comes out to support the sector, for them to understand, okay, these are actually the aspects that you might need to double check on, like you brought up data security and whatnot, and even basic things like the DSPT.
Yeah.
So the data security and protection toolkit, that's something that's now mandatory across providers. And we were looking at the statistics for East of England, and that ranges from anywhere from 60%, the whole country rather, and 60% completion through to 80%.
Yeah.
We need to drive up. And they said actually that 80% of your team need to have cyber training. Now, on top of all of the other training we have, where is the bandwidth?
Yes.
And I think, it's an important part for providers where you think they can only do so much.
Yeah.
And that's where some of these other organizations, tech providers like myself, can hopefully bring providers along the journey. But one of the most interesting things about AI, and this has been the same when I spoke over 2 years ago to today, it's as easy as using GPT. I now say in the room, who's used GPT, and everyone puts their hands up.
Yeah.
Absolutely everyone. And if you can speak into your phone, and if you can record a voice note, you can use AI. So I actually think it's probably one of the most accessible new technologies for providers. And now in terms of where people need to start, I think one, really great to think, what is taking up your time?
Yeah.
When you look across the bandwidth of your team, if you're a fast growing organization and you've got objectives, look at your business and say, what is taking up a lot of our time that, given AI and its abilities, whether it is the care assessments or reviews, or let's say it's auditing, so it might be care note audits, medication audits, or just making sure you're really responsive to the care that's happening on the front line. All of these things take time, right? So I would think, okay, what takes time? How can we potentially use AI? And then how can we look at what sort of technology supplies there are out there that can really fix it? And I think starting from the problem, it's maybe not even a problem, because that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah. And that's, well, I suppose first thing is admitting we've got a problem. And understanding that. So that's great. Thank you so much. I think that's just got my head spinning, actually. And so one of the last question I always ask our guests when they come on the show, we've got a lot of carepreneurs that be tuning in. So if there's one piece of advice that you could give somebody to say, this is how you could get to your first million or your next million in business, what would that be?
That's a really great question. The fundamentals. I don't think I've got it's hard to put it into one. If you had to say one, it would always be people.
Yeah.
Right. If I had to drill, I've got so many things going on in my mind right now. Functions of a care business, how you make sure your processes already fit. How do you have, I know you're always big on this, how do you have oversight on actually your raw numbers, your finances to make sure you're sustainable, and something you've done. I know you support a lot of your franchises with as well, which is amazing. I think it's actually quite overlooked sometimes in care, and I think you would agree with that. But you have to go from your people. If you have great people who may even not be experienced, I was going to say experienced, but who have got that desire, care at their heart, then I think you'll go a long way.
No, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope you enjoyed listening to that AI seminar, I want to say. It felt more like that than a podcast. I really enjoyed that. And thank you to Charles for tuning in. And thank you for listening.
Thanks, Amrit.
Until next time.
Cheers.